Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio today by Jonathan Voico.
Hello, everybody.
Writer, director, producer, Robert Meyer-Burnett.
I'm not a fan of our position in the multiverse. Is there some way you can change our universe?
I'll work on that. Well,
Thanks.
what's wrong now?
What isn't wrong? The world's going to hell in a handbasket. I just want to see movies.
But most importantly, of course, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show a part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a number of predetermined topics we got lined up for you guys. Then in the second part of the show is when we take your live comments and questions. If you have a thought, theory, opinion, question, or topic you'd like us to address, go ahead and fire it on in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. Now, here's the good thing about the tip link. As I said, it's actually good 24/7. So if you aren't watching our show live, maybe you're listening to our podcast feed, either on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or your favorite podcasting app of choice, or maybe you're watching our show a little bit later in the day, you can still send in a question. And if you send one in when we're not live, well, we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode, provided we deem the question or topic appropriate to be addressed on the show. We do reserve the right not to address it on the show if we deem it inappropriate. All right, guys. With that down, let's get things started with this, shall we? You know, one of the weaker streaming services is probably Paramount Plus, but they have some bangers.
They do.
I mean, they have some really good shows on there. And one of the ones that's one of the more newest entries, I don't think is like the greatest show on TV, but is the really solid Tom Hardy, Pierce Brosnan, Mobland.
Oh, yes.
Which, you know, I saw the trailers for it and I thought that looked pretty good. And I was a little late starting it, but once I got started on it, I just couldn't stop watching it. Again, I wouldn't say it's a top 2 or 3 best show on television right now, but it's a really solid offering. What's that?
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Really solid offering put out by Paramount Plus, and I would almost say kind of worth it. Just hit Paramount Plus just for it. Now, here's the thing. It had its season finale like 3 weeks ago with no word as to whether or not it was going to get renewed. Well, word is now given, as according to reports, Paramount Plus subscribers haven't seen the last of the Harrigans. The streamer has renewed Mobland for a second season. The renewal comes just 3 weeks after the crime drama's season #1 finale. Despite keeping fans on the edge of their seats for almost a month, another season of Mobland never seemed in doubt, considering that the show had been a major streaming hit for Paramount. Back in April, the streamer reported that Mobland had become its biggest global series launch ever, delivering 2.2 million views on its premiere day. Now, I believe the Sylvester Stallone show, King of Tulsa, I believe that was the record holder for the biggest opening streaming day. This took that over. Again, this doesn't look like a cheap show to make. Not a lot of visual effects.
The cast alone.
The cast alone. You got multiple Oscar winners on there. It's just incredible. It's shot beautifully. It's shot very cinematically. That's an overused term. Did you know that Mobland was originally pitched as a spinoff to Ray Donovan?
I did not know that.
I only learned that this morning.
I could see that, though.
Now you can.
Yeah.
But they apparently got the concept and then they kind of took it in a direction, made its own standalone thing, put it in the UK, whatever. Look, I don't know the last time I liked Pierce Brosnan this much as the head of the big crime family. And he's been taking a lot of crap because people say his Irish accent is really bad. I have never noticed it. I just thought it worked.
But he's Irish.
Is he naturally
in
Irish?
real life.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that he was Irish in real life.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I really like him in it. Who plays his wife again?
Helen Mirren.
Yeah, Helen Mirren, who again just owns everything she's
Kills
in.
it. I saw an Uber Eats ad with her this weekend. That was hilarious. I tweeted it. Or X'd it.
And I think for me it was the first time I've seen her play a villain role.
She's so good.
She's so good in this.
Well, you know, she's Dom's mom in Fast and the Furious.
Well, of course she is. She's Patty Constantine, or Patty Constantine's mom in the show. So having him in it's incredible. And then again, of course, Tom Hardy does a great job leading the show. All the supplemental characters are all great. I really enjoy the show. Now, I don't know where they go with the season 2. Like, I know how season 1 ended. I don't know if I'm as interested in the story they seem to be setting up at the end of season 1, but whatever. I'll check it out for sure because I like the show. Anyway, Rob, you hear about Paramount renewing the show. What are your thoughts?
I thought the show was great. I thought Mobland and Landman, enjoying both of those.
That's also Paramount Plus, isn't it? Yeah, that's a good one.
And I really enjoyed. Look, I don't know how for a Paramount Plus show to have Tom Hardy, to have Pierce Brosnan, to have Helen Mirren, all movie stars, Remington Steele, sure, but what a cast. And I really liked the plot. I liked where it all went. Really fun show. It looked like, and by the way, it looked like the actors were having a ball.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the...
Especially Brosnan, man.
Oh, yeah.
Brosnan, you could tell he was having the time of his life.
Yeah, totally. And you can feel it. Our friend Cody Miller texted me that he started watching it.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great show. I mean, look, is it The Godfather? No, but it's good.
Yeah. It's definitely got that Guy Ritchie feel to it, which I remember I didn't find out until after I was already watching the show. I might have been on this show that I said, this has got a Guy Ritchie kind of DNA, and it might have been you or somebody else wrote in and said, actually, it's a Guy Ritchie produced show. I was like, well, that makes sense.
And I really enjoyed the Gentleman TV series.
Yep. It was quite good. I like the movie better, but the show itself was really good too.
It was and you and I are both Guy Ritchie fans, and I think that it translates well.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this? Mobland has now finally been officially renewed for season 2. Have you watched the show yet? If so, what did you think? If not, why not? You really should. It's pretty damn good. Anyway, whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You guys know that last week, it might have been even been 2 weeks ago, got announced that AMC Theaters was going to be adding yet another little commercial slot. Because what we really need, what moviegoers really want? They don't want you to start the movie when you say it's going to start. They want you to start it as later after the start time as possible.
Bruh.
And be inconsistent with it. I got screwed over with 28 Years Later. Ann and I went to go see it. I think the movie started like 7. So we wander into the theater at 7:20, which should have still been 5-10 minutes to go. And we missed the first 5 minutes of the movie. So not only do they keep adding longer and longer trailer and commercial times, they go inconsistent with it to purposefully screw people out and try to force them to come in earlier. Well, according to a new story in the Hollywood Reporter, audiences more and more are catching on to this. And now they're making it pointless to show all these trailers because less than half, according to the Hollywood Reporter, less than half of the audience is actually showing up at the movie's stated start time now. That's not the way it used to be.
No.
That's not the way it used to be even just a couple of years ago. But this is what the Hollywood Reporter said. They said the following. The decline in attendance at the start of trailer play in New York and Los Angeles, the two main movie-going cities, the country's two largest movie-going markets, is particularly noticeable. And in recent screenings that have been observed by the Hollywood Reporter, attendees arrived after the stated showtime and as trailers were playing, a sign that consumers are recognizing what chains are doing. So far this year, only 42% of LA moviegoers were in their seats in time to see the trailers, compared to 55% from just last year. That's a 7%. That's a 13% swing in just 1 year. In New York, that stat is likewise 42% this year compared to 47% last year. So, in a great fuck around and find out moment, movie theaters continue to try to screw over moviegoers by not giving them what they paid for, which is, hey, I bought a ticket for a 6:30 movie. Crazy that I should expect a movie at 6:30, and been shoving more and more commercials and trailers down their throats when they paid to be there. Again, it'd be another thing if this was a free movie. Free movies, got to show me some commercials first. I get it, no problem. But they paid $10, $15, $20, $25 to be there. And now There's no point in showing these trailers, commercials at all, because the audiences aren't even coming. And Rob, that is going to become a growing and growing trend, which, by the way, it will also become a growing trend as movie theaters realize that moviegoers are becoming more astute to the situation and coming later. They will double their efforts in screwing over moviegoers by being more and more inconsistent about when the movie actually takes. They're going to try to punish moviegoers for not coming like good little obedient sheep and sitting their asses down and watching their commercials that they paid to be in the theater for. So anyway, moviegoers are starting to pick up on this. Is there any hope here that the better angels in the movie industry and the movie theater owners and stuff like that will recognize this and saying, wow, people really hate that we play this many trailers and commercials. Maybe we should make some adjustments. Or do you think they'll go the other route and just try to punish moviegoers more and try to trick moviegoers more by becoming more and more inconsistent about when they actually start the times? I don't know. How do you see this? And what's your biggest takeaway from this report?
Well, I think it's a good question to be asking because, look, I'll tell you, when I go to my local theater, they have a nice bar. I'll sit at the bar, chat with the bartenders or the manager who was ever there because I have a reserved seat. So if I have a reserved seat, I can literally go in when the first trailer is going to start. Like, I don't have to go sit down early. The whole point of ads was like you wanted to go get a good seat.
Yeah.
So you're getting there early. But if you have a reserved seat, there's no reason to do that. I just don't even go into the theater anymore. But not until like the very end, usually right when the showtime is happening, because at my theater, it's pretty consistent. So, but I used to like to go and sit in my seat like 10 minutes beforehand, 15 minutes, just to settle down and just enjoy, figure out exactly the seats recline or what. I don't do that anymore. I don't do it anymore. I'm like, I don't want to go in because you know what I really hate too? The resolution of commercials is usually lower than the actual movie itself.
Yeah. Because they don't produce them at that resolution.
No, and I find it annoying. I'm going in there and watching lower resolution images, and I'm watching sometimes local commercials, so I hate that. I hate that. So I think somebody's going to one day do a study and figure out that the people that are paying for these commercials are not getting the bang for their buck that they thought they were getting, and they're going to stop doing it anyway.
Yeah.
And I think it's the kind of practice that no one likes it. It diminishes the experience. Nobody wants to see commercials in the movie theater. I understand that movie theaters I will say this, I get the idea of needing to maximize dollars, because obviously midweek, they don't make as much money as the weekends, and studios got to help theaters eat. Movie theaters got to eat, John. So I understand why they have commercials, but it's self-defeating, I think.
But when you need more revenue, you have two options and two philosophies you can pursue, right? Philosophy number one, which is the philosophy the movie theaters and the movie. And by the way, it's not just the movie theater's fault. It's also the movie industry's fault as a whole.
Yeah.
Philosophy number one, which seems to be the philosophy that they're pursuing, is how can we screw our customers to get it?
Right.
Philosophy number two is how can we get more money from our consumers by offering them more value? How can we, for example, AMC just recently raised the prices of AMC A-List by a couple of bucks. But you know what they did in return? They added 4 more movies you could see a month with your A-List. So they increased the cost, but they gave us additional value in exchange for doing it. What value are you giving the consumer by tricking them, manipulating them, and in some cases, punishing them into watching commercials for a movie they paid to be in? Are you offering them discounts on their tickets? No, you're not. Are you offering them, hey, show up in time to watch the trailers, we'll give you some free popcorn? No. They're taking philosophy number one, which is F you and give us your money and give us your time.
Yeah.
Let us steer your time, as opposed to going another direction, which is like, let us figure out a way to offer value to the audience for this. And here's the thing, it's going to bite, it's already biting them in the ass. Less and less people are now showing up at all to even watch these things.
Yeah.
And so these are going to become worthless. And by the way, I just want to point this out. in their press release, when AMC decided to add this new ad spot, they said, well, many of our competitors have been doing this for a few years now with no adverse effects. No adverse effects? Rob, maybe I'm reading the wrong reports, but from everything I can tell, movie theater attendance is in decline. There's no one reason why it's happening, but if you don't think that one of the reasons that not the reason, not the top, but if you don't believe that one of the reasons contributing to the decline in moviegoing is the fact that you keep making the moviegoing experience worse and worse, like telling an audience member, come to a 7:00 show, and maybe if you're lucky, we'll start it at 7:30, which is another $20 you're paying your babysitter, by the way. If you don't think that's one of the reasons for your decline, you're not naive, you're a fucking idiot. All right? It's just that simple. So anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? According to a little report here in the Hollywood Reporter, fewer and fewer people, now less than half the people in moviegoing, show up to a movie when they say it's going to start now, rendering whatever trailers or commercials you're playing completely useless anyway. And do you think this is a trend that's going to continue? It's gone up 13% just in the last year. Whatever you guys think about this, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, one of the things that we understand is that if you are a top person in a big company that is worth billions of dollars, your top people are going to make a lot of money, particularly your CEOs. We understand that, right? Your top men. If you are responsible for steering a $10 billion ship, you're going to be compensated a lot, right? But you know who really gets compensated a lot? Movie industry CEOs. And I mean a lot. More so, according to a new report in the LA Times, than what everybody else gets. As a matter of fact, Rob, movie industry CEOs, despite the fact that the movie industry is struggling right now, movie industry CEOs, on average, get paid nearly double what profitable S&P 500 company CEOs are making while the movie industry is struggling. Take a look at this. So according to the LA Times, the average movie CEO salary comes in at about $33.9 million, while the average CEO of the 500 biggest companies of the S&P 500 averages around 17.1. That means if you're the CEO of a money-losing, failing movie company, on average, you're making more than double of what the average CEO of other profitable S&P 500 companies are. Some of the highlights. The two Netflix CEOs make over $60 million each. David Zaslav of Warner Brothers makes $51 million. Now, granted, I've heard when they split the company, he's going to take a reduction, but as of now, $51 million. Bob Iger, CEO of Disney, makes $41 million. Bob Bapkish, who is no longer at Paramount, but his last thing was $31 million. Hell, even Roku, CEO of this entertainment industry thing, Anthony Wood, makes $27.7 million, to illustrate how out of whack this whole thing is. Pull this one out. Just a reminder. In 2020 and 2021, AMC theaters, when this company was spiraling the drain, AMC theaters more than doubled Adam Aron's compensation, the CEO of AMC theaters, including bonuses, taking him from $9.7 million in compensation to $20.9 million. And what did he do? What was the big thing he did? Because of the pandemic going on, for laying off 26,000 people. As AMC was circling the drain, they doubled how much money he took home that year and laid off 26,000 people. He gave himself a double pat on the back. By the way, I just want to remind everybody that by my calculations and by my estimation, the only reason AMC theaters still exist today is because of the GameStop meme stock phenomenon that happened. That's it. Without that, as far as I'm concerned, AMC wouldn't even exist anymore today. Something that they had nothing to do with, they fell ass backwards lucky into this thing where their stock went up 1,000% and they sold that. Then they did the right thing. They sold off a bunch of their stock to raise capital. Without that, they'd be extinct. They'd be bankruptcy. In the midst of that, they decided to double their CEO's take-home money at the expense of laying off 26,000 people. Now, look, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying people who have big responsibilities should not be paid big. I'm not suggesting that at all. I believe if you have big responsibilities, you should be paid big. I'm also not saying that you should take CEO's money and give it to everybody else in the company. I'm not necessarily saying that either. But the fact that you practically gave, through bonuses and whatnot, a $10 million present to a jackass of a CEO while laying off 26,000 people at the same time. Look, you may not think that $450 sounds like a lot. I get it. $450 doesn't sound like a lot. But if you're somebody working at AMC theaters and the pandemic hits and you're all of a sudden out of a job, you know what that $450 represents? That $450 represents you being able to feed your family and your kids for a month. That $450 means you might be able to have a couple of months of car payments if you have a lower car payment. That $450 could be the difference between the lights being turned off and the lights being kept on for a month. They literally could have paid those 26,000 people. Instead of giving Adam Aaron an extra $10 million, you literally could have cut a check for every single one of those 26,000 employees that you laid off. Could have given them all almost a check for just about $450, which to Adam Aaron, that's nothing. That's the appetizer he orders at Forest Glen. But to a lot of those kids, could have made the difference between keeping your car and losing your car. Anyway, again, this is not all about Adam Aaron, of course not. But I mean, again, Rob, it's one thing that I could look at these numbers and say, well, you know, in the S&P 500, these movie businesses are the top performers. These movie businesses are the ones that are really revving the engines. But in many cases, we're talking about a struggling industry.
Yeah.
And CEOs in this industry, whether they be studios or streamers or whatever, CEOs in this industry are getting on average more than double what CEOs in other more profitable companies are getting. And then everybody wonders why movie ticket prices are going up. I'm not saying it's a one-to-one thing, but you know, anyway, you hear these stats, you see these numbers. What's your first takeaway from this?
Well, my first take is I want to call David Ellison at Skydance and say I'll be happy to step in for $7.5 million a year.
Bargain.
Yeah, well, I'll take over what Bob Bakish did, and I'll put Star Trek back on a paying basis. I promise.
It's like you're letting them steal from you,
Absolutely,
Rob.
John. I'm perfectly willing to, cut my just to work for that rate. But no, I mean, I think it's crazy. Again, Hollywood has always had a very large opinion of itself. Now, look, I could understand if you're a company like a Disney and you're making billions of dollars a year off your I've always thought this kind of thing should be performance based, in a way that if you're a CEO and you're getting and some of it is, I mean, there's bonuses and things built into it, but
yes.
But I mean, look, it's a publicly held company, and some people their compensation has been voted down. You're not going to get this compensation. And I do think in times like this, I mean, look, everyone's got to get paid. Everyone wants to get, I get it. But, if a business is struggling, of course, in a capitalistic society, you're never going to get people to be like, I'm going to accept less money because the company's not doing as well as we'd all hoped. So I'm willing to be the nice guy and cut my compensation. We just don't live in that world. So you're going to get what you can, when you can, how you can. It's Jimmy Fallon and Almost Famous or whatever. But I think it's the level of pay is ridiculous. I mean, I would say if I was getting, say, $60 million, I'm like, I'll tell you what, I'll take 30 million, but I want 30 million, the other 30 million, and I want to produce a movie, and I want to get first dollar gross for my $30 million movie that I'm going to produce. That's what I would do. I'd take less compensation, make a product. I mean, I'm sure that's ridiculous to say, but that's what I would do because I'd want to make a movie. But it's still, I mean, the kinds of money, the product that you're making is movies. And if someone's getting 30 million or 40 or 50 million dollars as their compensation, you could actually make a theatrically released feature and still pay yourself $20 million a year. I mean, that's crazy money compared to what you're making. And it should be tied to what your yearly income for your company is.
Again, I am not at all suggesting that I don't believe that people with big responsibilities should not be paid big money. I completely believe they should. Absolutely. I'm just saying, when you look at one industry that is struggling and their CEOs are making double what other big S&P 500 company CEOs are making, something's not right there. That doesn't make sense.
I don't know. Zaza looks pretty happy.
Oh, yeah. This is my milliophone.
Yeah.
Come on.
It's my milliophone. Something's got to rebalance. There has to be something there. So anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Again, I am not suggesting at all that movie business CEOs should not be making big money. They should be making big money. 100%. You have big responsibilities. You're steering a multi-billion-dollar ship. You should be paid the big bucks. You should be paid double what other more successful industry CEOs are making. I don't know. Something seems really weird about this. Anyway, whatever you guys think about this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, when Inside Out 2 came out and made I think it was over $160 million in its opening weekend, and went on to make $1.6+ billion and be the #1 box office film of the year. You know what everybody said? Pixar's back, baby. Pixar's back. And certainly they were, from a certain point of view. That movie was one of the most successful films in history. But then along came Elio. And if you guys have seen the title of this story, I apologize. I said to Jonathan earlier today when we were getting everything together, I said, I hate myself for doing it, but I'm calling this story Elio Flopio. I hate myself for it. I'm not proud of it, but it had to be said.
It's in your show notes. You actually typed it.
I actually typed out the word Elio.
You contemplated it, and you did it.
It wasn't even an accident. It was premeditated, and I wrote Elio Flopio, but it is what it is. Elio opened to $21 million, which, if you're keeping score at home, marks in the long history. That's the wrong, there we go. In the long history, and it's Adam Aaron's fault. Yeah. That's, no. In the long history of Pixar that put out movies like Cars 3 or The Good Dinosaur, is the lowest opening weekend in the history of Pixar. $21 million represents the lowest opening weekend. Now, that's a pretty good thing, actually, if you're Pixar. A lot of movies will open like $8 million. The lowest we've ever done is 21, but still, lowest ever. And you know, I wish I could sit here and tell you I was surprised, but I ain't. You guys know, like, leading up to this film, I've been saying for a long time, I love Pixar. And I've doubted them before and found out that the movies were great. But I've been saying forever, this Elio is not clicking. I have not thought the trailers have been particularly strong. We've talked about things, superfluous things like character design and visual elements, and there's just nothing in there emotionally seems to be gravitating people towards it. It just felt like a movie that's coming out, and it didn't. And then I even saw it, and I didn't dislike the movie. It has its charm.
It has good ratings.
Yeah, I mean, the ending kind of saves it for me, but it's not a particularly strong Pixar movie.
8.4.
I'd say it's one of their worst. Not the worst. I don't even think it's a bad film. It's just not particularly strong. And sure enough, it comes out with $21 million. Now, some articles have been written and that make a good point. Say, you know what? It's right now, people are not supporting original films. Because Disney it's not, oh, people are turning against Pixar. We just had a Pixar film and it was the highest grossing film of the year. And guess what? We got Zootopia 2 coming out. Anybody want to doubt how much money that's going to make? Anybody? Anybody? We got Incredibles 3 coming. Anybody want to doubt how much money that movie's going to make? Anybody? No one's going to see original films. And, you know, Pixar and Disney didn't do themselves any favors when during the pandemic and theaters were just starting to open back up and theaters were begging for content. Bob Chapek made the decision when he was still at Disney, hey, let's take these 3 Pixar films. We're going to all look really good. Luca, Soul, and Turning Red, which is, I think, one of their best films in years, by the way. Let's just dump them all on Disney Plus. Let's just do that because it's Disney Plus over everything. And they did that. And we've talked before, Rob, about how that kind of killed the event feel of Pixar films and also took away the idea of going to see anything original. Now, granted, this film didn't look very good, but I still think you could come out with something more than the lowest ever opening, even though it didn't look all that great. Anyway, Rob, I think this is a death by 1,000 cuts. What do you think about Elio's opening? Are you surprised? And do you agree with me or disagree with me that I think like once frickin' Zootopia 2 comes out, it's a sequel. It's going to do bonkers business. Anyway, what's your takeaway from this?
Well, you know, look, we've talked about this movie a lot because we saw a lot of it. Well, we saw it at CinemaCon, you know, and I've always loved Pixar movies. I'm a huge fan. Like I go all the way back to the original Toy Story and Bug's Life and all that. This movie did not appeal to me at all. And as a matter of fact, you know, I've been thinking a lot about it. Like, why didn't? And I was listening to them on Film Week, on LAist's Film Week on NPR. Bob Modello was talking about this and stuff. And the thing about this movie that, you know, Pixar usually has an interesting hook. Like you think about Inside Out 2. There's a really interesting intellectual idea behind the Inside Out, I guess you'd call it franchise. Or Up. You know, you've got this old curmudgeonly man. And there's something about everything with Elio felt warmed over. Like it all had elements that I'd seen in other things before. Yeah. You know, and you find the kid's parents, he's an orphan, you know, and I'm like, and then the aliens come and meet him. I'm like, that was like Last Starfighter 40 years ago, you know, and there was, and I should, by all rights, this kind of movie should be right in my wheelhouse. But there was nothing in it from the design work. I'm just like, eh. But Pixar usually, even something like Seeing Red, when you saw the trailer,
Turning Red.
Turning Red. Seeing Red is something else. Turning Red, when you saw the trailer for that, it put a smile on your face. You're like, I would watch that movie.
It's such a wonderful movie.
I mean, you and Soul. I saw Soul. I'm like, you know, I'm just like, I gotta see that movie. And you know, Bug's Life, Seven Samurai with bugs. You know, there's something about it that I had to go see, and I feel that that's Pixar's. You know, people make fun of the Cars franchise, but and it's simple-minded, I suppose. But merchandise-wise, they did a ton of.
Has its own ride.
It's got its own ride, and it also
a good ride, by the way.
It also delivered, like Lightning McQueen. It delivered on what it was supposed to be. But that's the thing about Pixar is it's the uniqueness of it, and this felt like something that was warmed over.
Yeah, and I saw the film. And again, it's not a bad film.
Sure.
I mean, look at the ratings. I mean, this has to be a symptom of marketing because you got 84% critics, 91% of moviegoers approve it.
Yeah, but I'm not sure how strong. Like I'm one of the 91%. I like in a thumbs up or thumbs down world. I'm a thumbs up for Elio. It's pretty good. It's all right.
Not enough to recommend.
But I can't. That's the point. I can't recommend it. I can't really tell people. I think it's good enough that you can set aside an entire evening of your time and drop $30 for you to go down and see. Like, I just don't, it just wasn't one of those. But again, even if it was an okay movie, it should have made more than 21 million opening weekend. But I just think the marketing never looked appealing.
No.
You kind of said there was never that it thing about, there was never that hook.
Right.
that changed my gears from being, well, I'll see it because it's Pixar, into, ooh, I'm really looking forward to seeing this.
Yeah, I mean, the premise of it, look, if you think about a family that's kind of not, I think back to E.T., single mom, father's gone. And that to me is the granddaddy of all kids meet an extraterrestrial film. And if you're going to follow up and do something like that, you have to have something that immediately flips people's switches and tells them this is something, I got to see that. I got to know what happens in that particular story. Because Pixar was so good at that. They would show you a little, through a trailer, you're like, I got to go. That I have to see. And for me, it was weird with Elio, which should have appealed to me. I was like, I don't care.
Yeah. Jonathan, check your mic. There's some people saying they couldn't hear you.
Yeah, I was about to sneeze and I unmuted myself, and then I muted myself and forgot to unmute.
All right, guys. The question is for you. Number one, do you forgive me for putting the title Elio Flopio? But it is what it is. Elio, it tanks. It's a bomb. It's $150 million movie to produce, not counting, marketing and everything. It made 21 million opening weekend domestically, a new record low for Pixar. Why do you think that happened? If you saw it, did you enjoy it? If you didn't, why not? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.
Might be better than Luca Floppa.
Luca Floppa. Hey, well, Luca didn't even get into the
Yeah,
theaters.
didn't even get to go.
All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? One of the more fun things in movie theaters right now are the secret screenings.
Yeah.
Like where they, for a discounted price, you can come to a movie theater, and different movie theaters chains call it something different. One secret screening at AMC theaters called Screen Unseen. Not a great title, but whatever. It's a fun concept, right? You buy a movie ticket at a radically discounted price. You just show up and you don't know what movie it's going to be. All you know is that it's a movie that's coming out soon, but you're going to get to see it early. Now, early in its inception, I went to a couple of these and quickly stopped because they were always showing gutter trash. I mean, movies that nobody had any interest of ever watching and sometimes never even heard of by the time the movie credits started rolling. But here and there, they've been showing some kind of decent ones. I mean, just recently I saw The Life of Chuck.
I did too. I went and saw
I saw another one that I actually thought was pretty good. I'm forgetting which one it was. But at any rate, there's one tonight in AMC. There's a Screen Unseen tonight at AMC theaters. And the whispers going around, because normally it's not a massive blockbuster movie that they show. But word has been going around, whispers in the dark. Is it secret? Is it safe?
Yeah.
That the Screen Unseen this week is actually going to be Jurassic World Rebirth, which does not open for another 10 days. Now, the initial reason for this is Screen Unseen will always list the rating and a approximate runtime.
Right.
The rating of tonight's Screen Unseen is PG-13. The runtime they list is 2 hours and 13 minutes. So a lot of people started looking saying, well, coming out in the next little bit, Jurassic World Rebirth is PG-13 and its official listed runtime is 2 hours and 14 minutes. But then I started getting some emails last week from a couple of people, at least claiming to work in movie theaters, saying, hey, the secret screening, Screen Unseen coming out next week, it is Jurassic World. And if you want to know how much that word has gotten around, I want to give you context. On Monday mornings, when there's a Screen Unseen and I go to the website to look at tickets, there's usually somewhere between 4 to 8 tickets sold.
Sure.
When I go to my AMC Tyler Galleria, look at this. Nothing but single seats other than the front section available. That's it. Just single seats. If you want to go to the more popular AMC Burbank 16, all practically sold out. This does not happen for Screen Unseens. This does not happen for Screen Unseens. So clearly the whispers have been very loud. People are hearing this is Jurassic World. Again, I need to emphasize this. Nobody at Universal, nobody at AMC Theaters has said that the tonight's secret screening is going to be Jurassic World. Nobody's officially saying that. But clearly when you look at the ticket sales, that's what people are hearing. I myself have tickets to go to it tonight, believing it's going to be. Now, we'll know at 4 o'clock Los Angeles time, because that'll be 7 o'clock on the East Coast, and people will start putting up on Reddit on the East Coast what the screen unseen is, so we'll know for sure. But if you are somebody looking forward to Jurassic World Rebirth, you might want to check your local theater, see if there's a screen unseen, and if there is, you might want to grab a couple of tickets if there's any available. And then check online. If you're on the West Coast, check online at 4 p.m. to see if it actually is this. Rob, we have never seen, at least to the best of my recollection, a pure, unequivocal blockbuster be one of the secret screenings. So, a couple of questions for you. Number one, do you think this is actually going to be Jurassic World? Number two, does this kind of change the game for these secret screenings? Because I gave up going to them a long time ago because I never believed it would actually be a big, significant movie. Maybe they will be. I don't know. What do you think about this?
Well, I think that, they do it obviously to gin up some word of mouth. Like I when we found out I was here on the show, found out that it was Life of Chuck. I was really looking forward to Life of Chuck, went and bought it. Turned out it was Life of Chuck. I'm going to my local Harkins theater because it's not just AMC, it's Regal. They all call it something else, like you were saying.
Yeah, secret screening, screen unseen, whatever.
And so Harkins, I looked it up, has it, same thing. And I was driving in and I saw your show notes come in and I'm like, Jurassic World. And I looked and at the Harkins theater, it's much fuller than it was when I went and saw. Obviously, the word is
they're having a secret screening at the Harkins as well.
Yeah. So same thing.
Was it practically full?
It's getting there, but much fuller than Life of Chuck was. And it's at 7 o'clock. And I figured I'll go. And the ticket's $5.
Yeah, it's super cheap.
And the thing is, look, to generate word of mouth, it's already had its world premiere. It's getting good notices on social media. People really are liking the movie, and it's the summer movie season. So I understand, like, when you're not in the summer movie season, screen unseen can be a valuable way, if your movie's good, that you're going to get it out in front of people and generate word of mouth. I would think that's the whole reason for it. Movies that don't have a big marketing budget to generate word of mouth with this is a great way to do that, to get people to come in and see it. But during the summer movie season, you really can't lose. Because even if it's some low-budget indie from somebody, it's going to be interesting if they're putting it out in the summer. I mean, you have to be to compete. So even if it isn't Jurassic World Rebirth, even though I think it is Jurassic World Rebirth, but even that, 10 days out, all you're doing is generating great word of mouth. If people love it, they'll go see it again. They'll tell their friends, "Got to go again." You for not a whole lot of money. It's marketing for the movie theater or for the studios. Universal's like, heck, we got a winner. Might as well market it, put it in theaters, let people see it. They're going to go pay.
Well, see, and that's the thing too. They could be right and they could be wrong. But Universal, if it is Jurassic World Rebirth, Universal must really believe people are going to like it. Because for you to put this in front of public paying audiences 10 days before it comes out in theater, and the word of mouth is going to spread, you must feel some kind of confidence that the word of mouth is going to be positive.
And plus, you make it fun.
Yeah.
Like Universal, if they know their movie's good, they make a secret screening of it, and all they've done is elevate the profile of secret screenings. So it works for every studio now. Every studio can be like, oh, well, we can put if we know we have if we have a winner, we'll put it in that because you know what? I just like that movie theaters are doing this.
Yeah, I like it too.
This is the kind of thing, man. There's the promise of it. What are we going to see? What a fun thing to take your friends to go see. Just, hey, let's go to the secret screening tonight. It's cheap. It's a good night out. Doesn't cost an arm and a leg. What's not to love?
By the way, somebody in our live chat, Ryan B, just put in the live chat, I just checked my Harkins and the seats are filled. and again, that never happens for these screen unseens. Now, I'm also seeing some people in live chat talking, well, because across the country, there is a number of F1 early fan screenings.
Yes.
Right? Now, that, of course, comes out in just a couple of days. And say, well, the F1 thing is sold out. Well, that's because people know it's F1. Like, it's not a mystery. Like, they know it's F1. Actually, Ann and I have tickets to an F1 screening tonight, which we're going to let go if it is indeed Jurassic World playing. Because, again, F1's coming out in just a couple of days. Jurassic's not coming out for 10 days. So, to your point, Rob, I think this would be huge for secret screenings. To actually have a legit blockbuster. Because now, I'm not going to... It doesn't mean, and it certainly won't be the case, that every time there's a screen unseen, it's going to be some massive blockbuster movie.
Yeah.
You know what it does? It could be. And for the last year and a half or 2 years, however long they've been running these things, I've never thought that. I've never thought it could be. I was just kind of hoping maybe it'll be an interesting film.
Sure.
But now, not only could it be an interesting film, like Life of Chuck, it could be a massive blockbuster. You know what else? I saw Drop at a secret screening. That was really good. I enjoyed that. Then I saw Life of Chuck at a secret screening. I enjoyed that. And maybe tonight is going to be Jurassic World Rebirth. Guys, question is for you. What do you think? Are you going to keep your eyes open to see if the reports get official? Or, listen, the tickets are selling out in these theaters. If you might want to take a chance.
Somebody knows something.
Somebody knows something. If you guys want to take a chance, you might want to go drop $5. Get a ticket. If you can find 2 seats together. Again, I'm not finding 2 seats together in any of our local theaters. Maybe you might want to take a chance. Anyway, guys, whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Sony's got a little film coming called Spider-Man New Day.
Woo!
Of course, the last Spider-Man movie, No Way Home, came this close to joining the ultra exclusive $2 billion club, but it made $1.9 something billion. Huge hit, crowd pleaser, all that kind of stuff. When's the next Spider-Man movie coming? Well, it's coming. Now, we heard a while ago that it sounded like Mark Ruffalo may be joining the film and be in a kind of mentor role, which is interesting. I still haven't seen Ruffalo confirm that, but at least that's still kind of the whispers in the rumor. But now we know another Marvel character that's joining it, and it's not one that I would have expected. And it's official. According to the Hollywood Reporter, Jon Bernthal. Wrong screen. There we go. Jon Bernthal has appeared in several Marvel television series as the Stone Cold Vigilante known as the Punisher, even headlining his own series. Now, he's taking his guns to the big screen. Bernthal has joined Tom Holland in Spider-Man Brand New Day. Is it Brand New Day? I thought it was just New Day.
Yeah,
Brand New Day. The latest Spider-Man movie from Sony and Marvel. Dustin Daniel Cretton, who of course did the magnificent job directing Shang-Chi, is directing the feature, which will shoot in England this summer and has a July 31st, 2026 release date as of now. Because originally, this movie was scheduled to come out after Avengers Doomsday, but now Avengers Doomsday has moved, and now Spider-Man is scheduled still to come out before Doomsday now, but whatever, we'll deal with that another time. The news here. We found out Jon Bernthal's Punisher, we all got excited, was getting a one-shot special on Disney Plus.
Isn't it?
I mean, it's nice, but who cares? But Marvel's serious about this character because now he's going to be in Spider-Man. Okay, I'm surprised about this, but incredibly excited for 2 different reasons. Number one, I kind of felt like Disney was going to have a limited purposes for Punisher. Showing up in Daredevil was an obvious one. Giving him his special was nice, but I didn't really expect for them to use this character much more beyond that. Second reason this really surprises me. Punisher is a guy who murders a lot of people. And not in nice little quiet ways. He'll swear at them a lot, put a gun in their mouth, and then blow their heads out. It's not a normal Spider-Man kind of property you're going to do stuff like that in. Again, I'm not saying it's bad they're doing it. I'm just saying that's why it surprised me a bit to hear this, that you're going to have Punisher in a Spider-Man film. Now, obviously that means they're going to tone Punisher down a little bit because you're not going to have Punisher dropping 55 F-bombs and putting bullets through 55 guys' heads. They ain't going to do that. I'm sure they'll probably make him as edgy as they can. But still, we're going to get Punisher in this. So I have questions. One, is this kind of going to be a Spider-Man versus Punisher situation? Is Punisher hunting down Hulk? I don't know. And Spider-Man's got to try to help. I don't know. I put a bullet in my mouth and the other guy spit it out. So I'm not sure what the Punisher is supposed to do against Banner, but still, is this going to be the most unlikely of team ups where Punisher and Spider-Man team up to take down somebody? Is Mark Ruffalo still a part of that equation? If so, that's a weird menage a trois. Hulk, Punisher, and Spider-Man ain't something I had on my bingo card.
I'd watch that though.
I would watch the hell out of it. And then another question. Okay, so obviously events of Thunderbolts and all that, they all ignore what's going on in Daredevil. But if Punisher shows up, is Spider-Man going, yeah, what's with Mayor Fisk doing all this stuff about vigilantes? Are they going to try to bring that over to the big screen? I thought they made it pretty clear they were going to keep small screen stories to the small screen. Questions, Rob. I have questions. But still, questions regardless. This is pretty damn exciting. I love Jon Bernthal as Punisher. Not a lot of people talk about Punisher season 2. I like Punisher season 2 even more than Punisher season 1. I loved him in that show, and I thought he was great in Daredevil. I'm excited about this, but it does seem a little weird, and I remain surprised. Rob, were you surprised when you heard about the Jon Bernthal? How do you feel about it? And do you have questions, or do you have answers to any of the questions that I had? I don't know. How do you see it?
Well, one, I'm excited because I really like Jon Bernthal as an actor and as a person. Like when I see him do his podcasts, things like that.
He's such a good
actor.
actor.
He's a really smart guy, and he's really dedicated to the craft of acting. He's had a lot of training. I think he's a really exciting character. I've always loved him. Hell, I loved him in The Wolf of Wall Street. You know, I've always loved him.
By the way, did you see The Accountant 2 yet?
Yes.
Oh, how good is he in The Accountant 2?
Great.
He's so good in that.
Just like the scene, like I love the scene in the bar when he's watching.
In the country western bar?
Yeah, the country
so good.
Where just the bemused expression on his face until things go down. He's great. He's great. But now this, look, I always loved in the comics, the Spider-Man Punisher team up, or when they were in a story together. I always just liked that. I think that what's going to be interesting about this is I think that Spider-Man and Punisher are probably going to be on opposite sides of the same case. They're going to end up somehow, and he's going to go gunning for Spider-Man. Classic comic book setup, where you have two heroes against one another. Maybe, I don't know if it's a Kraven's Last Hunt thing, because they ruin that idea. So let's make the Punisher Kraven in this scenario. And then so they're at odds. They realize they shouldn't be at odds, and then they team up to do whatever. But what I really like about this is after you've gone all cosmic with Doctor Strange and two other Spider-Mens and multiverse stuff, I like bringing this down. This says to me that this is going to be more of a street level movie. And we haven't seen, I mean, Spider-Man from his inception in the MCU, the first thing we saw him do is meet Tony Stark. You know, and he suddenly is a faux Avenger, you know, and Stark's giving him armor, and he's working with the Avengers. We've never seen Spider-Man. I mean, obviously he has other movies, but he still had a mentor. And I like the idea that we've taken Spider-Man out of all of that, and we're going to see him work as a street level character. Because I've always loved that, even in the Sam Raimi movies, like when he had to deliver pizzas, you know, and use his spider powers or whatever to just lead a normal life and not in the costume. And I think part of this movie has got to be Peter Parker reestablishing his own sense of identity in the world, because nobody knows him.
It's a brand new day.
It's a brand new day. So what's he going to do? And I think that's look, the promise of all this is exciting to me. I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be good. I'm glad. Hopefully they'll pull back and make it a little bit more street level. I think that's only good for the character, because, you know, it's like when James Bond went into space in Moonraker. The next movie was For Your Eyes Only. Let's strip it down and make it more of a spy thriller, terrestrial. We'll have him on the street driving cars, you know, killing Cuban assassins. It's going to be great. And that's what they did. So I would like to see that. And I think it'll be really interesting if Punisher mentors Peter Parker in some way? Like maybe they meet, because I don't think the Punisher hasn't met Spider-Man.
No.
So he would be the first person, like,
But
revealing
is Frank a mentor kind of guy?
Well, that's what I'm saying. No, but it could be something. The dynamic between them could be really interesting. I can't wait to see what's gonna happen.
I mean, look, because when you look at scenes, not just in the original Netflix series, like the infamous rooftop scene where he's got Daredevil, but also like in the new series on Disney Plus when they're in Frank's, apartment and like having that stuff. Let me ask you this. One of the more interesting things this raises for me is how do you handle Frank? Because every time we've seen Frank, he's incredibly vulgar, which I love. And he has very, very little apprehension about canceling individual subscriptions to life. It's like, oh, this guy? And blows his head off. How do you think they manage a character like that in a more family-friendly-ish Spider-Man title?
I think watching Spider-Man having to prevent Frank from doing that is hilarious. And I think that'll be a big part of whatever dynamic, because they're so opposite of one another, which makes the frisson between them wildly entertaining, and if you look at the difference, what I really liked about, like, say, Shang-Chi, we got the director of Shang-Chi, was the interpersonal relationships between all the characters. And I really like that when Tony Leung shows up, when Wu shows up and showing the sister and Shang-Chi and Aquafina and all of how they had to interact with one another.
That was great.
Yeah, it was really great. So I'm really looking forward to seeing, and you've got two opposite characters in Spider-Man and the Punisher, and putting them together. Well, that says big screen entertainment to me, John.
Yeah,
So
I am so excited about that. Again, I still have tons of questions about how you actually make it work.
Me too. I've
but I'm excited you're doing it regardless.
Yeah.
This could be a lot of fun. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Compounding on top of the reports and rumors going around that we may see Mark Ruffalo in this film, we now got it official. Jon Bernthal is going to be in Spider-Man Brand New Day as Punisher. How do you do that? I don't know, but I'm awfully looking forward to seeing how it is they decide to handle it. Whatever you guys think about this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with all that down, it's time for us to get on to the most important part of our show, which is, of course, taking your topics and questions. But before we do, we're going to bid adieu to Robert Meyer Burnett. Great job as always, Rob.
Well, hopefully I'm seeing Jurassic World Rebirth today.
Text me as soon as you get out of the movie. And
I will.
Let me know what you think about it. And, of course, we'll talk about it tomorrow if it indeed, or our complete disappointment if it's not going to be that movie.
And that means we're not embargoed.
No embargo. No embargo. By the way, and if it's not, I'm just going to go over and see F1 because I still have my tickets to F1. So I'm just going to go see that tonight regardless.
It might be something. You know what? I don't know if you saw the Wild Weapons viral video they dropped today.
Well, they just dropped a new trailer, yeah.
Yeah, and there was this long, weird video that played before the actual trailer dropped, and then Zach Kreger came on. It was like an hour long.
I have not seen that.
And then he's like, and as you watch it, he goes, and thanks for watching this. And here's the new trailer. And I sat there watching this going, what? It was really creepy. I can't wait to see Weapons. I can't wait.
All right, man. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Cheers.
And now, guys, we move over, of course, to you. We, of course, every day invite you to use our tip link at streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip to send in questions every day. And then we get around at this part of the show to taking them. So, by the way, we did not do viewer questions on Friday because I was running the show myself and we had to get out of here. But we're going to start this segment off by getting caught up on those, then we'll move on to today. So, Jonathan, what we got up first?
We got Rory Gregg, who says, as Midjourney's AI video quality continues to improve dramatically, would you be in favor of movie theaters showing feature-length AI-generated films if they manage to deliver truly compelling stories and visually impressive cinematic experiences?
This is a tough one. Because, first of all, that's a big if. If they could actually deliver and you can actually make something worth watching and paying for. Okay, so you're setting that as a given. If they actually make something that's worth watching and is good and is great to watch, Yeah. Yeah. I go to the movies to watch a great story and then have an entertaining experience. Whether you do that through live actors in front of a camera, or whether you do that from a CGI generated thing made by a bunch of animators, or however you make it, that's what I go to get. There was an interesting philosophical discussion I had with a friend of mine, and I don't know what the answer is. I'm just saying it was part of the discussion. You guys watch The Studio, Seth Rogen's The Studio? You remember there was an episode in the Kool-Aid episode with Ice Cube, where they says, hey, we just found out you're going to do some effects using AI. And you're taking jobs away from CG artists. Now, remember, I'm somebody who worked in a CG company before. I have friends who are CGI artists. I've worked in that world. But I mean, here's my question for you. Do you use a cell phone? I mean, we're a number of years removed from it now, but you took jobs away from operators. Remember those, Jonathan?
Mm-hmm.
Remember operators? Back in the day when the phones first came out, you literally got
zero.
the operator and the operators would patch you through and all that kind of stuff. Well, modern technology came around and took all those jobs away. Now, that was part of advancement. That was part of progress. That was a part of the technological advancement. I get it. But nobody today thinks about whenever they pick up their phone to send a text or make a call, they think, oh, about all those operator jobs that they're destroying by using your phone. And again, I'm not saying this is the answer. I'm just saying I think it's a question that needs to actually be addressed. Like, when people make a visual, when an artist makes an effect in a computer, in a CG program, we don't have the discussion anymore about how that one guy is taking away the jobs of 10 other guys who used to do that visual effect practically. Did you see, Jonathan, that Industrial Light and Magic?
The documentary?
The documentary?
Yeah.
Many of you guys saw the Industrial Light, and you saw like back in the day when they made Raiders and when they made Star Wars and they made Close Encounters and they made it was these massive teams of guys who would make these things. But now you got a kid on a computer who can do the job. And you have many, many visual artists, but you have like one kid who can do the job of like what took 7 or 8 practical visual effects artists to do over the course of months. When we sit down and watch a visual effect done by a kid behind a computer, do we say and talk about the jobs that took away? Or do we just go, that's the advancement of the technology, and now there's a new areas for people to be involved in? And so I don't think the answer, I am just putting forward that I don't think the answer is as simple as you think it is. You know, I saw one person online talk about that scene in the studio when the girl stood up and says here that you're going to use AI to make some of the visual effects. You're taking jobs away from whatever. And somebody brought, I bet that shirt you're wearing was made in Taiwan. But when you buy a shirt made in Taiwan, are you having discussions about all the jobs you took away from North American workers with decent paying jobs and to make that, and instead you're buying clothes that are cheapest for you that were made probably by teenage sweatshops somewhere in another country? It's a little bit of hypocrisy. Again, I'm not saying what I think about it because I'm not sure what I think about it yet. And I'm not saying what you should think about it because I don't think we figured it out yet. But if you're asking me just on a pure baseline, if someone was actually, and by the way, I don't think you can make an actual watching, entertaining, watchable movie experience with AI. I don't think you can do it. But you're saying if you could, would I go see it? If it's delivering the experience, yeah. I haven't heard a compelling reason why not to. Again, I don't think they can do those, but if they did, yeah, I'd probably give it a shot. Anyway. All right, what's next?
Chad from Pittsburgh says, hey, John and crew, I took my son to see How to Train Your Dragon remake this week. Overall, we liked it, but am I the only one that found a lot of the film too dark? As in, I couldn't see much of what was happening at times.
You know what? I'm usually very set. First of all, and by the way, How to Train Your Dragon, #1 at the box office again this weekend. It's already made about as much as Thunderbolts in just 10 days. It's closing in on $400 million already. Couldn't be happier for it. The movie's wonderful. Now, normally I'm pretty sensitive to scenes being too dark, but it might have just been your theater because when I saw it, I personally had no issues with that. And again, I'm somebody who's normally pretty sensitive to this is too dark or this is too quiet. But yeah, when I saw it in the screening that I saw it in, I personally didn't have any issues with it. So maybe it was just your theater, or maybe if I go to see it again, I'll think that. But I'll keep my eyes open for it when I watch the movie again. All right, what's next?
WP says, hi, John. Just got out of 28 Years Later. Absolutely loved it. My favorite film of the year so far. I get the reviews of people not loving the final scene, but I really enjoyed it. With part 2 being released in January, when do you think the trailer will be out?
Soon. I understand them not putting the trailer out as of right now because obviously they want the attention to be on the movie at hand. I'm guessing by late July, we'll probably get the first trailer. Maybe even August. Late July or August. We'll get. Remember, we're still a ways out from it. But I'm going to guess, late July might be too early. I'm going to say sometime in August, we'll get our first trailer for it. I didn't love the movie, to be honest with you. And it wasn't just the ending. The ending was confoundingly odd. But even without the ending, I thought it was a movie that had a lot of good things in it, but just didn't coalesce into a proper experience for me. Hard for me to put my finger on it. I enjoyed watching it. I liked it, but I certainly did not love it. But here's hoping. Listen, Bone Temple looks really good. They showed us previews for Bone Temple at CinemaCon this year, and it looks really good. So I'm hoping that it picks it up a little bit. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got Daniel Vasquez who says, hi, John and crew. It's me, Daniel, from CinemaCon. Since both 28 Years Later and Megan 2.0 has Teletubby references, I would like to know what was your experience with the Teletubbies back in the 90s, early 2000s? I mean,
Never saw it.
We, probably our age, we were just like, what the heck is this?
Yeah, my closest thing to Teletubbies and was that I had a guy... The guy who created Teletubbies went on to make the all-time lowest grossing cinematic film in history called The Oogie Loves. Do any of you guys remember The Oogie Loves? Anyway. And that guy wanted to get in business with me. I can't remember for why, because my entertainment lawyer was also his entertainment lawyer. And so I was at a couple of things they did, whatever. But that's my closest connection to the Teletubbies. I've never seen an episode. I don't know anything about it other than I can recognize them, but I don't really know anything about them, to be honest. All right, what's next?
We got Seabass. John, I am so excited for F1. Can't wait to see it in IMAX. However, looking at the following weeks with the July lineup of Jurassic Park, Superman, and Fantastic Four, do you think F1 will be financially successful?
Yeah, I mean, do I see it being an $800 million film? No, but it's going to do very well globally, I think, because, listen, I'm not a huge F1 fan by any stretch. I don't watch F1 racing, but I know a lot of people around the world do. And the reactions and the reviews for this movie have been very strong. Again, if tonight's Screen Unseen isn't Jurassic, Ann and I are going to go see F1 tonight. So maybe I'll see that. I'm seeing either F1 or Jurassic tonight. We'll find out which one. But I think it'll do well, but I don't think it's going to flirt with $1 billion. I mean, when I first kind of thought about it, I thought maybe it would, but the last month or so, I don't think so. But it'll do well. It'll do well. All right, what's next?
Nick, I'm a huge sci-fi fan, but surprisingly, I've never watched any Star Trek, nor do I know much about it. What should I watch? Can I jump right in with the J.J. Abrams movies?
Huh.
It's probably the only ones you can really just jump right in, unless you just do like the Next Generation films. But even that, it's just so hard unless you have some frame of reference for the shows.
Yeah, I don't know that you need... Look, the original series is iconic and classic. I don't know if you have to start with the original series.
No.
I think you can jump right into the Next Generation.
Mm-hmm.
I would watch that series. That show was great. And I think has the greatest series finale of all time. I'm not even a huge... I mean, I like Star Trek a lot, but I'm not the biggest Star Trek fan. But I even think Star Trek The Next Generation had the best series finale ever in television. It was such a perfect wrap up to the show. It was utter perfection. So I would say start there And then maybe go to the J.J. Abrams movies. Anyway, you got a large world in front of you, man. There's a whole lot of stuff to get into. All right, what's next?
Do some research. Declan says, "Hey John, what would you be interested in seeing in a potential Thor 5? I would love to see Donald Blake introduced."
No, that ship's sailed. That's too late for that.
Perhaps this could be a way to hand over the mantle of Thor to a new actor. Does this interest you or something else?
No, I you know me, I never really, in talking about potential upcoming movies, I never have a checklist of what I want them to do. I just want them to make a good movie. That's it. I don't care if they decide to follow up on the Hercules character that they teased at the end of Thor 4. If you do, great. If you don't, fine. I don't like whether or not it's about bringing Odin back. If you do, great. If you don't, fine. Whether it's one to hand over. Well, you can't hand it over because I want Thor to still be Thor. I don't want somebody else now being called Thor. Thor is Thor. That's the guy's name. He's Thor. It's not a title. It's not a rank. He's Thor. So if you want to make a Thor 5 without Chris Hemsworth, but you don't have Chris Hemsworth in it and then handing over Mjolnir to somebody else, you are Thor now. No, I'm not interested in that. But listen, ultimately at the end of the day, if they do, and I do expect that they will, if they do make a Thor 5, and I hope that they do, kind of redeem the shortcomings of Thor 4, Love and Thunder, I'm just open to whatever they want to do. Just make it a good story, make it interesting. I don't care which villains you use or don't use or what storyline you decide to follow. Just make a good, entertaining movie experience and I'll be totally happy. All right, what's next?
Samuel Raven says, "Hi, John. This is my second tip I've sent in, even though I've been watching you for over a decade. I'm a broke film student at the moment."
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Just want to say I'm so glad you are not retiring straight away. You and the crew are the highlight of my days. Love you all.
Yeah, so for those of you, I'm sure most of you know this by now, where for the last number of years, I've been aiming to retire somewhere between the release of Superman and the end of 2025. So somewhere in that window was when I was going to retire. But we are now stretching that out at least an extra year because I was able to find this van that's going to allow me, because I want to do a lot of traveling in retirement. But I've found this vehicle that is going to allow us to travel and still do the show. And as a result of doing that, we signed this new really great sponsorship deal with an agency. It's not with any one sponsor. It's with an agency that is going to be bringing us dozens of sponsors. And it's a guarantee. So even if they fail to bring us any sponsors, we still get paid, which is a great deal. So yeah, we're able to stretch that out for at least another year on top of that. So we're really excited about it. All right, what's next?
Andy says, Sony owns Spidey outright and distributes Spider-Man films. Universal only distributes rights to Hulk, while Marvel has creative rights. Sony has more stake in Spidey than Universal has in Hulk, yet it seems impossible to get Hulk film. Why? Give me World War Hulk.
All right, so let's start off with the first thing that you said that was incorrect. Sony does not own Spider-Man outright. They currently have a license on the character that they currently control, but they do not own the character. They are in control of the character right now, but they do not own the character. It's like, think of it in terms of somebody renting a house. Like if somebody's renting a house from you, well, they've got control of the house. Right? They get to live in it. They get to turn the lights on and off. They can park their car in the driveway. They can throw parties at their house, whatever. But I own the house. Like if I'm the house owner, I still own the house. Like if Jonathan is renting a house from me, he can't tear the house down. It's not his house to tear down, but he wants to, like I said, he wants to park his car in the driveway. He can do that. He wants to have a party on Saturdays. He can do that. He wants to swim in the pool. He can do that. I can't plan a party at his house because he's renting the house. I can't plan a party at the house he's renting from me, but I still own it. Marvel still owns Spider-Man. Okay, be clear about that. Marvel owns Spider-Man. But because they license out the character, Sony has control of the character in perpetuity as long as they keep making Spider-Man movies. Anyway, that it sounds like a little detail, but it's a major thing. So Sony currently is in an added-on deal where they will allow Marvel to produce movies with Spider-Man in it, and Sony maintains the distribution, and they distribute it and make all this money from distributing the film. With Hulk, as much as we understand it, the situation is a little bit different. Marvel owns Hulk. They also control the production rights of Hulk. Remember, there are two different but equally important sets of rights when it comes to a character. I'm way oversimplifying this, but just so you get what I mean. There's the production rights. That means you have the right to make a movie. But then there's the distribution rights. Once the movie's made, the distributor gets the movie and they get to do whatever they want with it. They can put it in theaters, put it on a streamer. They can decide when to release it, how to market it, whether to have it skip theaters, go straight to streaming. If they put it to streaming, who's streaming? So those are the two different things. Marvel has the rights to make a Hulk film. If Marvel wanted to make a Hulk film tomorrow, they can. The problem for Marvel and Disney is that if they do make a Hulk film, they're not in control of it because the distribution rights to any standalone Hulk film still belongs with Universal. In a quagmire of interconnected, complicated legal license and rights issues. So, and Marvel's not interested in that. They already have that kind of a situation with Sony. They don't want to do it again with another studio and another one of their characters. So yeah, Marvel could make a Hulk movie if they want, but they refuse to because they don't want to make a movie and then have to take that movie and hand it over to Universal to do with whatever they want with it. They want to maintain control of their characters. So with Sony, hey, if they want to be in the Spider-Man business, they got to dance with the devil. They got to play nice with Sony, but they're not interested in doing that again with yet more of their characters. So that's why we can get Spider-Man movies, but we're not getting Hulk movies right now. And then some people say, well, why doesn't Universal give the rights back? Because they're not stupid. They're not dumb. You wouldn't give the rights back either if you had control of them. Not if there's still a possibility that somewhere down the line, Marvel may sign a big fat check to you. So they're going to hold on to it as long as they can. All right. What's next?
We got Blake. Has any well-received movie ever had a bigger financial drop-off to the sequel than Wonder Woman? The original was $822, had great reviews. Wonder Woman 84 made $169. That's hard to believe for a Wonder Woman movie, even if it's bad.
Completely. I mean, listen, Wonder Woman 84 is terrible. I don't like the movie, all that kind of stuff, but you can't make that comparison. Wonder Woman 1984 came out during a pandemic and was day and date. It was available on, if I remember correctly, it was available on HBO Max the same day it was in theaters.
Yeah.
Like a lot of movie theaters were still closed. People weren't, so you can't make that comparison. So yeah, Wonder Woman 84 was a miserable movie. But you can't really make that comparison in a vacuum because there was a lot of extenuating circumstances to it. All right, what's next?
Cameron, John, I'm considering watching Jurassic Rebirth in 40X, and I wanted to ask you something. Could you consider making polls every now and then detailing what your viewers believe is the best way to view certain films? 40X, IMAX, Dolby Standard.
No, because I don't think that's an interesting question. I'm just being honest. I really don't think that's an interesting question to ask. With the 40X thing, I've only ever seen one movie in 40X, and that was Twisters. And that was a good movie to watch in 40X. But this is the thing, I've never really considered watching another movie until F1 was coming out. So Ann and I, once it comes out in regular theaters and like it hits 40X next week, Ann and I are probably going to go see it in 40X. But look, a movie's a movie. 40X is different because it's bouncing you. It's physically doing something to you. But I'll be honest, just being honest. My favorite way to watch a movie is in an AMC Prime. I think that's the best viewing experience. But I honestly, my experience doesn't change all that much. Whether I'm watching it on an IMAX screen, a movie on an IMAX screen, a movie in a Prime, a movie in a regular theater, as long as it's good projection and decent sound. It honestly doesn't change my experience that much. Again, as long as I have the choice, I'll choose the Prime, the Dolby Prime. I'll choose that. All other things being equal. But if I end up needing to see it because of timing or availability on a regular laser projected screen, I'll do that. And it's not going to change my experience all that much. So honestly, now I'm never going to do those kinds of polls because I don't really care.
You don't get context either. It's just everyone's opinion. It's not like,
Yeah,
this
and
is what,
opinion's important, but I just don't think it's that big of an issue.
Yeah.
Now, I could see sometime doing a poll question saying, in general, what's your favorite kind of movie theater to go to?
yeah.
But like to say, hey guys, we got Smurfs coming out. By the way, can I just say, this Smurfs movie looks like one of the worst films ever made in history.
So you watching 40X?
Yeah.
Dude,
That's what I'm gonna go watch in 4DX.
it's going to go off.
I can't even believe how bad this movie looks. I honestly don't hate myself enough to go and watch this Smurfs movie. This looks terrible. Anyway, I don't think there's any interest in me or anybody else just saying, hey guys, we got I don't know, what's a big movie coming out this year? Well, we'll go with Fantastic Four. Are you gonna see Fantastic Four in laser 4DX? Giant X, Screen X. Like, I don't know. Okay. Now, again, maybe, hey guys, what's your favorite theater in general to go to? That could be asked once, but I don't think asking is an ongoing thing. All right, what's next?
We got James. Love this the Superman quote from the new TV spot. I get scared, but that is being human. That is my greatest strength.
I love that line. It's funny. I literally had a friend of mine text me about an hour before the show with that quote saying, what does Superman mean by being human? That's my greatest strength. I think that's it exactly. I mean, look, it's a stereotypical line too. It's been used in other movies. It's like, you care about people. That's your weakness. No, that is my strength. You know, that sort of thing. It's just one of those common lines, but I love that line when he says that. I love that line. Can you tell it is my most anticipated movie of the year? I'm so excited for Superman. I can't even believe it. Anyway. All right, what's next?
Tyler with a two-parter. Hey there, John. Been watching you since around the time that James Spader was cast as Ultron.
Oh, wow.
Around 11 years. Thank you for all that you do. Do you have you have been a daily fix in my life since then and have opened my eyes to more movies to watch since. Getting married this Saturday.
Oh, congratulations.
And my fiance knows that I got to get my John Campea fix in at least daily. So, I found a good one. Thanks again for all that you do. Can't wait for Superman to come to theaters.
Oh, thank you, man. I'm always floored, man, when, especially this, when I hear from people who have been like watching my content for so long, but also when I hear from people who've been watching my content for so long and now are celebrating milestones in their own life. Like when I get somebody, John, I started watching when I was 12 and I'm graduating college next week. Or John, I started watching you right out of high school and me and my wife are now having our first kid. Or I started watching you when I was like 18 and I'm getting married. Now, to me, that is so amazing and so humbling and just, that is awesome, man. So number one, thank you for watching for so long and putting up with my bullshit. And congratulations. It's going to be the best day of your life on the upcoming nuptials, and all my best to you and your partner. All right, what's next?
Mr. I says, dun 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 dun. Happy 50th anniversary to the release of Jaws, the original summer blockbuster.
It is the original blockbuster, man. That movie. And by the way, when you look back today and look at the original trailer, oh, so cheesy. So cheesy, as were many trailers that came out back in the day.
It's awful.
But I'm telling you, man, there's not a lot of movies that are 50 years old. I mean, when I say not a lot, I mean not a lot. There are obviously many, but that is a movie that holds up today. You can sit down and watch Jaws for the first time with somebody who's never seen it, and that is still an awesome movie, man.
Yeah.
And I want to go home. Tired and I want to go to bed. Had a little drink about an hour ago and it went straight to my head. I mean, that's one of my favorite movie scenes of all time. And like one of the greatest lines in any movie ever. You know the line I'm going to say, right, Jonathan?
Yeah.
Think we're going to need a bigger boat.
Mm-hmm.
We need a bigger boat. We're going to get a bigger boat, right? It is such a great movie, and 50 years, man. 50 years. Unbelievable. All right. What's next?
The Daily Prophet. How's it going? When movie commercials say it's the #1 movie in America or in the world, is that true or just marketing to get people to watch it? Like, how does that even work when it comes to commercials saying the #1 movie in the world?
It's a box office statistic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if it's globally, all they have to do is just jump on Box Office Mojo and see what's the #1 movie. #1 movie is this. Okay, you get to say it's the #1 movie in the world. And if it's not the #1 movie in the world, but it did make the most money here, you can say it's the #1 movie in America. So yeah, no, you can't lie in a commercial. Like if they straight up lie, they could literally be sued by the government if you do deliberately false marketing. But yeah, it's just a simple statistic. You just go on the box office, look it up. Which movie made the most money this week? This is the #1 movie in the world. Just that simple. All right, what's next?
Darth Gunn says, how about Charlie Frazier for Wonder Woman? She was in Anyone But You and played Furiosa's mom in Furiosa. I saw this suggested on a podcast and I like the idea. She is also 5'11" and has the size.
Nah. By the way, which movie is Anyone But You again?
I gotta look it up.
I know I've seen it, but I can't remember which movie that is.
Sydney Sweeney. Yeah, Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell.
Oh, and Glenn Powell. That girl is Wonder Woman? I don't see it. Anyway. All right, what's next?
Blake says, which did more damage to the IP, the DCEU or Star Wars sequel trilogy? Episodes 7 through 9 were more financially successful, but they aren't going to reboot Star Wars. They still have to deal with those movies going forward. DC has a fresh start.
DCEU absolutely did. I mean, DCEU did so much damage, they have to restart.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing, right? Like the damage was so great, they literally had no choice but to restart and reboot. They had gotten to the points where all their movies, some of their movies were struggling to make $200 million. None of their movies were financially working. Whereas with Star Wars, they all made $1 billion. Not a single one of those Star Wars sequel trilogy movies made less than $1 billion. They're all billion-dollar films. That is an inconvenient truth for Star Wars haters, but it is a truth nonetheless. Not to mention, there was some good stuff in the sequel trilogy. I mean, I hated The Rise of Skywalker as much, if not more than anybody. I mean, I made like a 35-minute mini documentary on YouTube about just why and how bad The Rise of Skywalker is. It's terrible. But it doesn't change the fact that I thought The Force Awakens, most people really like The Force Awakens. They just do. I'm going to look it up here. Hold on a second. Force Awakens. Here we go. So like The Force Awakens, it had a 93% critic rating and an 84% audience rating. The audience and the critic rating were only 9% separated. I really like The Force Awakens. I'm unapologetic about that, and I'll have that debate with anybody, anywhere, anytime, no problem. And then there was The Rise of Skywalker, which was so bad. And then the Last Jedi was a mixture of the two. The Last Jedi had some things in it that I really liked and some things in it that I absolutely detested. But yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. And just answering that question straight up, there is no doubt the DCEU literally did destroy itself. People stopped going to them. They had to reboot. With the Star Wars films, people never stopped going. Even the horrendous Rise of Skywalker made over $1 billion. So, I mean, did it do the Star Wars universe any favors? No. But did it damage the brand as much as the DCEU did? Not at all. The DCEU literally killed itself. And they had no choice but to restart, whereas Star Wars, it wasn't that extreme. Anyway. All right, what's next?
Garden Variety says, just read LA Times piece about Caitlin Dever, fell in love with her in Booksmart, and need to watch some of her other recent work. The fact that she filmed Killing Joel in The Last of Us 3 days after her mother's funeral due to cancer is mind-boggling. Imagine her headspace in that scene. Craig Mazin stated, I would stand in front of a bullet for her. Also, the article shares that her dad was the voice of Barney, and now she stars opposite Godzilla. Thanks. Take that, Dad.
She is a remarkable performer. And I remember, I mean, she was around before it, but I think for me, I first discovered her in Booksmart. And I was floored. Like absolutely floored by her. Like she was so good in that movie. For kind of a raunchy comedy thing, her performance was so good. And she has stood out ever since. And while, I mean, you may have issues, whatever story, her performance in Last of Us is incredible. And she's somebody we're going to have to keep our eye on for a really long time. And like the real life stuff that was going on behind the scenes just kind of adds to that. All right, what's next?
Dildar says, when are the Snyder Bros going to understand their Lord and Savior is friends with Gunn and is supporting him? If they really cared about him, they should just listen to him and let it go instead of acting like entitled brats.
That's the thing about cult mentalities is
Yeah.
that rational thinking isn't really a strong part of the play card. So
You can show them the facts over and over. They just keep doing the whatabouts, and it's like, but I've shown you the facts over and over. So
Yeah,
it's like,
they-
just move on.
yeah, time to move on. Look, I mean it showed with David Ayer, right? Like David Ayer, everybody was like, yeah, David Ayer, release the Ayer cut, blah, blah, blah. David Ayer got screwed, release the Ayer cut, blah, blah, blah. But the moment David Ayer came out and said, hey, man, I'm really looking forward to the new DCU and I can't wait to see Superman, they turned on him. They turned on him like a piece of bacon dropped in a pool of piranhas. Because that's what the cult mentality does.
Or my plate.
I mean, if it was seriously, if it wasn't Zack Snyder
Yeah.
that was standing there taking the picture with James Gunn and saying James Gunn is great and I look forward to seeing what he's doing, they would simply turn on him too. But the problem is that's the guy who their cult is named after.
He's playing 4D chess. He knows what he's
I
doing.
guarantee he's playing 4D chess. I guarantee you, yeah, they would. But his name is actually Snyder, so yeah, I don't know. But listen, here's the reality though. As I try to point out before, not all Zack Snyder fans are Snyder Bros. Right? Like
Sure.
me and Rob are both Zack Snyder fans.
I am too. If I think about it.
Yeah, I mean he's
Other than Rebel
literally
Moon
done.
and the one you hate too. I hate that one, Sucker Punch. I like his stuff. Love 300.
Oh, 300, Azagul, Man of Steel. I mean, he's only ever, I mean, again, other than the two abominations that we just had go on Netflix.
Oh, yeah, I love
The
Watchmen.
only movie he's ever made that I didn't really like was Sucker Punch. Every single one of his other movies. But that's the thing. Too many people out there associate any Snyder fan with being a Snyder bro. And the
Right.
reality is those toxic little, crack sniffers are a minority. They do not represent actual Zack Snyder fans. They're just these cultists. So it's time for everybody to just ignore them.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's
Use
next?
that block button.
Yeah.
Jake says, bought my tickets to the PlayStation concert right after finding out the tour was hitting my city. Hearing live music from my favorite games like Last of Us, Horizon, God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, and others sounds like a fun experience. Those are always fun.
All those concert experiences are great, but I'll tell you what, to this, you know what my favorite moment of the Game Awards is every year? When the orchestra plays the scores of the
games
of the games, and they do that big medley near the end where they play all the scores. I love that. And like these live concert I remember one of my favorites was one that Ann and I took Rob to as well. We went to go see at the Hollywood Bowl. We went to go watch Black Panther in concert. And they actually got the actual musicians from the movie to come out on stage and play on them. And it's amazing. And then the Marvel Infinity Saga concert was amazing. Going to any of the Star Wars in concerts are always amazing. Those events are always great. And I'm glad you went to it. All right. What's next?
We got, let's see. Hang on. Oh, shoot. Sorry about that. I bumped my cursor here. I'll fix it, but I'll read these for now. Kaladin says, wouldn't it make sense for Secret Wars and Doomsday to be a love letter to the first 25 years of comic movies, characters from all studios finally crossing paths to defeat Doom and end the multiverse for good?
No.
And get their true final goodbye?
No.
Then they soft reboot the MCU, one universe, fresh rules. X-Men already exist. MCU actors can stay if they want or be recast. We move forward with a clean slate. Iron Man, Cap, Thor, X-Men, Fantastic Four all together from day one.
No, you don't go into making these types of movies with those types of parameters. You come up with the best story you've got and you go with it. You don't go, we have to make this as a love letter to the no. At the end of the day, nobody cares. at the end of the day, all that matters is, do you make a great movie? And like, whatever their plans are coming out of Secret Wars, whether it's going to be a reboot, which I don't think it will be, a soft reboot, which I also don't think it will be. If anything, it's going to be kind of a Crisis on Infinite Earth sort of thing, where they end with one world, right? And now the X-Men are going to be merged into that. So, but whichever approach they take, I don't think you approach the movie and say, we have this issue of sentimentality, let's build our entire movie around it. I just don't think that's the right way to go. You sit down in a room, you get your creators and your writers, you come up with the best story that you can, and you don't worry about all that other stuff. You just make the best movie you can and try to have an end point in mind. Again, and how they end it, how they're going to bring in X-Men, all that kind of stuff, I don't know. But I'll never think that the best way to do it is you gotta adopt this philosophy going into it. I don't think I agree with that. Again, just make the best movie you can, and hopefully, listen, the Russo brothers working with Kevin Feige have never delivered anything other than pure brilliance. We have had 4 movies that the Russo brothers working with Kevin Feige have put out: Civil War, Winter Soldier, Endgame, and Infinity War. And they're all great. So just do your thing, man. Just do your thing, and let's see what they give us. All right. What's next?
Adonis has a 2-parter. Elio is another example of my issue with modern Pixar. The message of the movie clearly takes center focus, and everything else, including the story, comes after. Same issue with Soul. It feels like they've moved from what if fill in a concept had emotions to let's tell a story about a message. A big part of this is likely due to John Lasseter, who was key to the early Pixar leaving the studio. Toy Story 5 being directed by Andrew Stanton gives me hope, but Pixar feels like it's losing its spark.
All good stories start at the heart of what's the message. That's just it is. That's what it is. Great stories start with what is. It's synonymous to say what's the point with what's the message. Those are interchangeable, right? And Pixar has always kind of started there. It doesn't matter if you go back to, I mean, Soul was wonderful, by the way.
That was my favorite of the 3 released of Luca, Soul, and Turning Red.
Yeah, and mine was Turning Red, but I mean, if you look at Soul, which was released in 2020, I mean, it's like a 95% critic rating, 88% audience rating. It's wonderful. Turning Red's fantastic. The greatest stories start with what's the point.
Otherwise, it's just a series of events.
Yeah. Yeah. Other than it's just a random series of events that happen to have some kind of chronological order. The best way, Lion King has that. Aladdin has that. So, I mean, the part with Elio wasn't let's start with a good. No, you don't have a story without having a clear picture of without that clear picture of what is it we want the audience
what are we conveying
walks away with.
Right.
If you don't have that, you don't have a story.
Right.
You just have a random series of events. And so Pixar has always done that. The best Disney animation all have that. It is the cornerstone from which you build your story. Because without it, your stories have no heart. Your stories have no soul, if you'll pardon the pun. So anyway, that's just me. All right, what's next?
We got Korean movie and TV milestone anniversaries this month, up to 30 years. 2020, 5 years ago, to Five Bloods.
Wow, that was 5 years ago? Wild.
2015, 10 years ago, Jurassic World.
Yep.
Man. Dope, Inside Out, Mr. Robot. Then Get Him to the Greek, the A-Team movie, the Karate Kid reboot.
That's 15 years ago now.
Oh, there was 10, now it's 15. Okay. Karate Kid reboot, Jonah Hex, Toy Story 3, Growing Up, Pretty Little Liars. Let's see, what else? Oh, 20 years ago, Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, Cinderella Man, Shark Boy, and Lava Girl, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Batman Begins. This 20 years one is hitting me the most.
Yeah.
I think it means War of the Worlds. Dancing with the Stars, 25 years ago. Big Mama's House, that kind of feels like 25 years ago. Chicken Run, The Patriot, Even Steven. I have a funny thing about The Patriot. 30 years ago, Batman Forever, Pocahontas, Apollo 13, great film. Judge Dredd, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie. 95.
The one that gets me out of that list is Cinderella Man 20 years.
Yeah.
That gets
The
me.
20-year one is like, huh?
Cinderella Man. That
I
mean,
saw Batman Begins 20 years ago in the theaters.
Now, don't get me, Cinderella Man feels like an older movie, but
I know.
20 years? I still remember doing a story about how they're so confident in Cinderella Man, they're offering you money back. Remember? Cinderella Man did a money back guarantee.
Oh, yeah.
That's a great movie. But Cinderella Man is a great movie. And nobody went to go see it. I think they were kind of tired of Russell Crowe at that point, which is too bad because he's amazing. But yeah, that's the one that hits me, man. That's the one that hits me. All right, what's next?
Did I read this? Kaladin Secret Wars? Yes. Okay, so moving on. Kevin, hi John. Have you seen the new Strength Superman teaser DC release on its YouTube? It may be the most hype-inducing spot yet. The choral music, the moving shot of Superman standing over the camera, chills.
Yeah, it's awesome. And listen, there's literally nothing more they can do to get me more excited. I think the marketing has been bang on, spectacular. I think everything they've done and shown has only motivated me even more to see the movie. Now, I know I saw those projection numbers that came out today. They're saying $150 million opening, $170 million opening. I still believe it's going to be around 110 to 120, which is awesome. I mean, way bigger than I would have thought 6 months ago. So I think it's going to come in there. I think it's going to be a big hit for them. But again, the most important thing is not that this movie makes a lot of money. The most important thing for this movie, being the first movie in the new franchise, is to develop a great reputation for this new brand so that future movies can make even more money. So I'm still thinking 110 to 120, and I think that would be great for them. All right. What's next?
Jason says AMC Screen Unseen tonight is PG-13 and set at 2:14. I originally thought Megan 2.0 would be the movie, but that clock's at 2 hours exactly. Jurassic World is 2:13. What are the chances?
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit earlier on the show. There is strong sentiment out there that tonight's Screen Unseen is Jurassic World Rebirth. So much so that in something we never see happen, the Screen Unseen theaters are all selling out because word's out that people believe it's going to be Jurassic World. Again, we'll find out in 3 hours because it's 1 p.m. Pacific time right now. At 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time in 4 hours, 3 hours from now, it'll be 7 p.m. on the East Coast, which is when people are going to start watching Screen Unseen, and then they jump on Reddit and tell us what the movie is. So we'll know in 3 hours. I hope it is. I bought tickets. If it's not, then I'm going to go to see F1 instead. All right, what's next?
All right. Well, Sorafan kind of follows up with giving us a heads up that the possible Screen Unseen is Jurassic World Rebirth. Mr. Snivy says, besides Star Wars, which of these other franchises do you think is in a bad state right now in terms of critical and financial conditions or getting a movie out? Marvel, DC, Transformers, Star Trek. Transformers probably of those.
I mean, Marvel, I mean, that's preposterous. I mean, they literally just had a movie that made over $1.5 billion at the box office with Deadpool and Wolverine. And then their failure was a movie that just about clocked $400 million.
And everyone loves the thought.
By the way, yeah, the thing about Thunderbolts is it's a movie that clocked in just under $400 million, completely made up of B, C, and D-list throwaway leftover characters from Disney Plus shows. It's
for the most part. Yeah.
For the most part. And to Jonathan's point, wildly well received. Audiences loved it. Critics loved it. All that kind of stuff. DC's in a spot. They are starting brand new. So let's give them their clean slate. Transformers is in rough shape, man. I mean, Michael Bay ran that into the ground. And I'm a Michael Bay defender. And I like the first Transformers Michael Bay movie. But Michael Bay ran that thing into the ground. Then they made the mistake, instead of following up on Bumblebee with a Bumblebee sequel, they made the unmitigated moronic decision. Like, what the hell were they thinking in making another live action Transformers movies and not making it a direct follow up to that wonderful Bumblebee movie and not getting Travis Knight back and instead making their Beast Wars movies that nobody gave a flip about and was an okay movie. I mean, I didn't dislike it. I thought it was all right, actually, but it wasn't that good and nobody went to go see it. And it's so bad that even when they put out a really great animated movie, Transformers 1 is fantastic and nobody went to go see it. So yeah, Transformers is in a rough spot right now. All right, what's next?
Check out my plugs. You got plugs too? Hey crew, how about this for a Batman script? The Batman 2 set in Arkham Asylum. I do like that idea, but like a raid movie game where you need an item weapon from one enemy to defeat the next to get to the top of the last. Keep up the great work. That might work as a game, but it's too linear.
Yep. Hate it.
Too linear.
Hate it. Because you can make that doesn't even need to be Batman.
Yeah, it could
you
be
can
anything.
make any. You can take that basic story idea and match it and put it to any kind of just turn off your brain action flicks. And don't get me wrong, I like my turn off your brain action flicks, but this is Batman, dude. You got to have elements of the detective. You got to have like just a quick. To Jonathan's point, like that's just a video game you described. Like just turn off your brain, action, go. I can get that from any property. Like we had Carl Urban's Judge Dredd. We had The Raid. We had, and you can do that with anything. You can do Mortal Kombat with that if you want. This is Batman. I think Batman should be deeper and better than that. I think you need to have more to it than just that. All right, what's next?
Dan V says, I wasn't planning on going to the Marcus Mystery Movie tonight for $6, but your show led me to look into it. Has to be Jurassic World, like at AMC and Regal. The Marcus site shows the exact same runtime listed for a normal Jurassic World showing.
And again, well, first of all, listen, I said this earlier, but let me say it again. There is nothing saying it has to be Jurassic World.
Yeah.
Okay? Nobody at Universal said this screening tonight is Jurassic World. Nobody at AMC or Marcus or Regal or whatever have ever said that this is officially going to be Jurassic World. We could get there tonight and it could be Megan 2.0.
I am assuming, well, that would be great too, though. Like, you're not really losing with Megan 2.0.
No, hey, listen, let's be clear. I'm looking forward to seeing Megan 2.0.
Yeah.
I think that movie looks like fun. Although I would rather see F1,
Sure.
so I'll just skip out and run and go see F1 tonight. But I mean, again, there's nothing saying it has to be, but yes, it does look like it's going to be Jurassic World. Fingers crossed.
I don't know that we asked this, but I'm assuming. Are you going to do an out of the theater if it is?
If it's Jurassic World,
Yeah.
100%.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm doing it out of theater tonight, whether it's Jurassic World or F1. One
Okay.
way or the other, I'm doing it out of the theater tonight.
Gotcha.
All right, what's next?
Seconds from Disaster. I saw 28 years later. It was weird, and it seems like after 28 years, zombies forgot how to get dressed for why? Well, they're not thinking. Imagine walking with your son thinking it's all good. Then you turn around and see a giant zombie full sprint with a giant zombie teeth swinging. Hey, man, that's the world we live in if the clothes are going to rot off of you.
I mean, yeah, don't forget, these infected are not the same infected from 28 years ago. These are all new infected, and as we find out, infected can be born.
Which is odd. But
The infected we saw before just had the clothes that they had on when they got infected. So yeah, all the infected in this movie are naked and running around with their giant infected hammers. And it's quite a sight to behold. But it does make sense that they'd be naked. It does make sense. All right, what's next?
That's how they get you infected. Anonymous, for reference, John Gladiator 2 was a Regal mystery movie back in November, which was previously the biggest one.
Really? I
Gladiator
don't
2.
remember that.
Huh.
But I'm glad you brought that up, because like in my headcanon, this will be like the first true blockbuster. But if they did that for Gladiator 2, that would make that one the first truly big one. But this is the first one that I remember. But anyway, thanks for pointing that out. I appreciate that. All right. It's already past 1 o'clock, so let's do one more, then we'll wrap it up for the day. We'll get caught up on any remaining ones tomorrow.
Sure. Future Man, thoughts on 28 years later? Cinematography was breathtaking. Actors' performances were unmatched. The causeway scene was incredible. I've never felt such a range of emotions before. The backdrop was stunning. Music was a hit. The tension and excitement.
I don't necessarily disagree with any of the individual points. The causeway scene was amazing. Tension, great. Cinematography, good. I'd say good. They did some questionable things in it that I don't think worked really well for me. Performances were wonderful. But it just, again, to me, it just didn't all come together. You know, it was a dish that had a lot of great ingredients in it. And for the most part, I certainly didn't mind eating it, but it just didn't click the way I needed it to overall. Again, I think it's a movie worth seeing. I just didn't actually end up loving it myself.
Actually, he was a two-parter, but he just follows up.
Oh, what did he say?
The excitement was through the roof. I've always been a giant fan of 28 Days Later and Danny Boyle, but I gotta say that this is my favorite one out of the trilogy, and from his movies, mine's still Trainspotting. It's insane how I can't stop thinking about it. Now I can't wait for Bone Temple.
Slumdog Millionaire for me. I think for me it'd be Slumdog, then Trainspotting. But anyway, again, I had more issues with the film than you did. To me, it didn't click quite as well as that. But I am excited for Bone Temple. Again, they showed us some previews for it at CinemaCon back in April in Vegas, and it looks really good.
Yeah.
And Ralph Fiennes was clearly one of the big wins in this movie, even though it's just a smaller supporting role. I think he has a more predominant role in the next film. And I'm looking forward to it. And all right, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show a part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who did send in questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show, thank you guys so very much for your support. Again, to everybody who sent in a question maybe a little bit later and we didn't get around to it yet, we'll pick up with your questions tomorrow and we'll get all caught up on all those. So, big thank you again to Robert Meyer Burnett for being here a little bit earlier, our technical producer, Jonathan Voico.
See you guys.
And a big thank you to all of you again, guys. Listen, you could have been doing a lot of other things the last couple of hours, and the fact that you chose to come hang out with us is incredibly, incredibly meaningful to us. So thank you so much for that. We'll talk to you again tomorrow, guys. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.